We are back in the Brickyard for the US Grand Prix, trying to put aside the debacle of last year. Hello from Indianapolis, where the second part of our North American adventure. Part one went pretty much according to form, with Fernando Alonso picking up his fourth successive victory. But there is a sense that his dominance is being tested a little bit more now, and he has never even finished a Grand Prix here in America. Mark, when you came through the gates this morning, did you get a feeling of deja vu and all the memories coming back from last year?
It was a little bit eerie, I must admit. I mean, we left here with a big cloud over our heads last year, and I was surprised though. There's a lot of people here, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and you know, the fans who have turned up are really powered by what they're seeing here with the Formula One.
Now, Alonso has been supremely dominant in the last 4 races, but do you feel he's been tested a little bit more recently?
I definitely do. I think the teams, you know, behind Renault now, your McLarens, Honda, Ferrari, are definitely making some progress and just taking a little nip out to the Renault guys. But, you know, they've been so strong since the beginning of the season. Alonso's made that little margin now in terms of World Championship points. It's going to be tough for anyone to catch him up.
And how different do you think this will be from Montreal?
I think it's going to be actually a similar situation for us in terms of results, but Renault are going to be strong, but watch the powerful engines of Mercedes-Benz and Ferrari. They may just surprise those guys there in the blue cars.
Okay, when you look at the drivers' standings, you can see the dominance of the Renault-Alonso package. 84 points from a possible 90. That's 6 wins and 3 second places from the 9 races so far this year. A 25-point lead over Michael Schumacher and his Ferrari. Well, part of this year's aim is to erase the memory from last year. Just 6 cars took to the circuit in what was one of F1's darkest days.
It was the weekend Formula One disappeared up its own exhaust, and it started with a bang.
I straight away said, you know, this is impossible. I'm not going to drive that way. And then it turned out to be amongst the whole pit lane. It was very obvious that we couldn't.
Massively got caught with our pants down. All the teams on Michelin tyres, whatever it was, 14 cars, couldn't drive. It wasn't a case of if we were going to crash, it was when we were going to crash, and the drivers had no choice and the teams had no choice because we were going to hit the wall.
Yeah, I remember everybody tried to find solution. At the end we refused to take points because we understood that we had a mistake. We put a mistake with the tyres. But even with that we didn't agree, and it was not possible to race for us.
Yeah, I remember watching the start of the Grand Prix with my mother, who was the only person I think happy that I wasn't taking part in the race. She would prefer I do something else for a living, but yeah, that was it. It was just kind of pathetic, really, wasn't it?
Again, if it comes down to my choice, I want to race.
The reality is we weren't able to because of Michelin, and that was the American Grand Prix.
We all pulled off together, and it was totally ridiculous, of course, and I left here 10 laps into the race, and it was really a shame.
Standing on the grid, you see all the comments, come on Juan, come on, and all that. We're getting really excited, and you know you're going to park the car, is stuff.
I think it's absolutely a crock. People pay lots of money to come and see this race.
Bernie, nice job, nice job.
This is ridiculous, absolutely unacceptable.
In the weeks and months after Indy 2005, Michelin took one hell of a kicking, not least from the FIA, the media, and some of the fans. But 12 months on, there seems to be a willingness to forgive, if not forget.
The real Formula One fans are everywhere, and here in America as well. You know, they enjoy. They are so excited about the race this weekend, and will be interesting race to see.
I just love the Grand Prix. Love the cars. Love the drivers. It's a great time.
I just love Formula One so much. You know, I mean, as long as it's at Indianapolis, I'm always going to come back.
So what about this year? Well, no tyres have exploded, and they look rock solid on the banking. Michelin have not made the same mistake twice, and it looks like we're going to have a race tomorrow.
For sure they learned from last year, and it will not happen this year.
Tyres, we don't think we've got any problems. You know, we will cut open some tyres and have a look inside, but certainly no signs of problems at the moment.
Tyre looks good, and we are
clearly quicker than the Bridgestone, so what's the concern?
Montoya quite cool, but how much do you think has been done to erase the memories of last year?
I think there's been a lot done, definitely. I think everyone here is conscious of the fact that, last year didn't go according to plan. They've all rolled into town and are putting a lot of effort into trying to promote the race. And I think just get the fans back into a situation where they appreciate what Formula One's all about.
Well, getting the fans back in is the important thing. They were furious last year, as we could see there. But 20,000 free tickets been handed out. That's a start.
Yeah, it's a token gesture. I mean, it gives some indication of what needs to be done here. They're giving tickets back out to get people back through the door. But, I'm very surprised. There's still a lot of people turned up here with that same amount of enthusiasm what we've seen in the US Grand Prix gone by.
But there is the possibility that this is the last time the US Grand Prix is staged here, or is this just all bargaining, the usual that we see at this time of year?
I think it's the usual, Angus, in some respects. We really do have to have a race in North America. Whether it's here or not is another matter. There's talk of Las Vegas, Long Beach in California.
There's talk of having two.
There is indeed, and I think it could actually do that. The country's plenty big enough. An East Coast race and a West Coast race would really go together nicely, but there's a lot to be done there. But Mr. Eccleston will sort that out in short time.
He will do. Well, there is no circuit in the F1 calendar quite like this one at Indianapolis. It has a split personality. It's part oval from the famous track, part infield, so frighteningly quick in places, technical and twisty in others. Well, here's Martin to guide you through.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Grand Prix circuit, uses a part of the Indy 500 circuit, but in reverse, followed by an infield section. It's just 2.6 miles, the shortest lap of the year at around 70 seconds. The diamond-cut surface is very hard on the Grand Prix tyres. The infamous turn 13 here at Indianapolis, look how long it is. It's a real tester. And of course the corner that last year terminally damaged those Michelin tyres and then forced the cars to pull out of the race. If you do crash, you'll hit this 5-level metal barrier, very similar to the centre reservation of your motorway. But behind it is a 2-foot gap filled by these polystyrene pylons, and the whole thing gives a little bit, but it's still more than hard enough to give you a serious headache, as Ralf Schumacher found in the previous 2 seasons. The slope is only actually 9 degrees. It feels a lot steeper than that, as if you're going to fall down it. I found a local football to show you. As you climb the beginning of the banking, you're then on full throttle for over 20 seconds down to turn 1, and it's nice and wide when you get there. On board with Montoya in the McLaren, turn 2 follows immediately, making a chicane effectively. Now this circuit is hardly the Sunday Times crossword, it's very easy. 3 is a right flick into 4, the track is wide. Squeeze the throttle pedal, turn 5 again as a flat out kink, and then into the braking zone for 6. Hug the inside, there's a very, very short straight to 7, one of the more important corners on the circuit, and that's because it leads onto a longish back straight up to 180 miles an hour. Be sure to be on the right-hand side at the end of that straight. We see a lot of mistakes from the drivers down here at turn 8. It's such an easy corner, so why do they make mistakes? Well, maybe it's just too easy. Approaching at 180 miles an hour, it's very wide on the entry, but this is no man's land, not available to the drivers. They're aiming at this small piece of plastic curb. The only way to make up time in a simple corner like this is to be the last of the late breakers, trying to steal a 10th or 2. Many drivers, though, get it wrong. Witness the skid marks to the outside of the corner. They bounce across the grass, but they tend to get away with it. The reward for getting it right, unfortunately, is just a couple of very slow hairpins. 40 miles an hour in the first, turn 10, up to a massive 50 miles an hour. But now you can let the car begin to go. 95 miles an hour through the critical turn 11, because now you're heading into the foot of that banking and the long full throttle straight. There's no skill required from the drivers, it's all about risk. And back in the pits, the engine and tyre engineers are very nervous.
Yes, it very much is a specialised circuit in 2 parts, Mark.
Definitely so. You've got this big long straight, you come off the last corner there on the banking, they're carrying about 200 miles an hour by the time they get down to turn 1. That's the opportunity they got to overtake. The problem is a compromise. They need the aerodynamic efficiency with less drag on the cars, but they also need to have some mechanical grip on the infield, and it very, very much is a one-line circuit in the infield there.
So how do you set up for it? Do you go for the speed with the big oval and the long straight, or do you really emphasise
You've got to go on speed, Angus. You must make sure you got the straight line speed, because if you go there with everything dialed in for the infield, you're literally going to get nailed by the cars on the straight there going into one. They're going to have you under braking and slipstream you. You have to concentrate on the straight line.
So who are the winners and losers on a circuit like this?
You know, I think that the winners will be the big powerhouse engines, Mercedes-Benz with McLaren, Ferrari. But Renault are so strong in terms of chassis grip that I think they'll ultimately be fine all the way around. They need to make sure that they've just got enough straight line speed that they don't get nailed by those big boys.
So Alonso and Fisichella, again, the people to chase.
Definitely so. Those guys are going to be strong. And as we've seen all season long, they get off the line every time as well. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult to beat them.
OK. Let's find out what else has been happening in the paddock. Here's Louise.
BMW Sauber continues to deny claims that it's running an illegal rear wing. Rival teams have suggested the elements of flexing, thereby reducing drag on the straights.
It's been noticed we've made progress, and it's annoyed a few teams because now it looks like we're going to get closer to them in championship and beat them. So they've gone on a witch hunt. You know, a wing was checked again on Sunday morning before the race in Montreal, and it's legal. So there's no point discussing it.
All is peaceful again in the Williams camp after the Canadian race where Mark Webber was blocked by teammate Nico Rosberg in qualifying. Rosberg, the youngest driver in the paddock, celebrated his 21st birthday en route to Indianapolis.
We didn't do much special, actually. I went with my parents to the East Coast, and we drove with a convertible from Gloucester, where the Perfect Storm was filmed, down to Martha's Vineyard, and it was quite a very nice area, so it was relaxing and quite a lot of fun.
While Rosberg was taking it easy, Mark Webber was training with members of the Discovery cycling team, including the man being hailed as the next Lance Armstrong, Tom Danielson.
When you do things with people in other professional sports, you always learn things, and they're always asking questions about our game, or asking questions about their game, and you know, I really enjoyed it.
Rumours abound that Alex Schneider is on the brink of selling the Midland team to Dutch internet company Lost Boys. Meanwhile, Midland driver Christian Albers has forgiven his Portuguese teammate for spinning him out of the race in Canada. Holland's 1-0 World Cup defeat by Portugal was less easy to swallow.
I apologise for my mistake. It was my error, and he accepted it, and that's fine. We're fine.
At least you came out on top in the other battle between Portugal and Holland.
Yeah, then we had a little extra. He wasn't as happy as about that one, though.
Expect an announcement soon that Toyota has re-signed Jarno Trulli. The Italian admitted that the two parties are close to doing a deal. Down at Red Bull, things are not looking so rosy for Christian Klien. Team boss Christian Horner says the Austrian needs to start performing if he wants to keep his seat next year.
He's not inexperienced anymore. He's got a very strong teammate in David, and you know, as a team, we're obviously want to go places, and if he wants to be part of the team, he obviously needs to deliver some strong results to you know, retain his place.
Meanwhile, Red Bull's other squad, Toro Rosso, are proving a hit with the American fans, thanks largely to their Californian driver, Scott Speed. Scott, it's your first time racing at Indianapolis. Have you been looking forward to this Grand Prix above all the others?
Yeah, sure. I look forward whenever I get to come home to my country. So, no, to come here for the Grand Prix, I definitely was looking forward to it. And I've had such an awesome reception here. It's been a really great trip.
It has been quite fantastic, the response you've had from the fans, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was a lot more than we expected. Thank you.
What do you think is the response from people after the debacle that we had here last year?
To be honest, other than the media, no one's ever asked me about it, so I think that it's going well.
There's no difference in them this year?
No, I haven't sensed anything like that. I've only had a positive feeling from all the fans I've met.
How you reckon you're going to get on?
I don't know. After last weekend in Canada, I'm a bit more optimistic than before we came here, but it's still going to be a tough race for us. You know, maybe a top 10 if we're lucky.
Have a good time.
Thank you.
Fernando Alonso looking to make it 5 out of 5 this weekend. He's looking pretty relaxed about it all. Well, some of the cars are coming out onto the track. It's time to join our commentary team for qualifying. James and Martin.
Друзья, с вами R10 TV, российский голос Формулы-1 в прямом эфире со старой кирпичницы в Индианаполисе. Это трасса, которая примет у себя Гран-при Соединенных Штатов завтра. Ну а сегодня, естественно, уже менее чем через 5 минут начнется квалификация перед этой гонкой. 10-й в чемпионате мира 2006 года. И в 50-й раз завтра гонка Формулы-1 состоится на территории США. Здесь, естественно, мы не учитываем в этой статистике статистике те разы, когда в начале 50-х легендарные 500 миль Индианаполис считались официально одним из этапов чемпионата мира Формулы-1. Было это сделано ради расширения географии, теоретически ради того, чтобы позволить лучшим пилотам Формулы-1 приезжать и участвовать в 500 милях Индианаполиса, но на практике практически никто тогда не воспользовался этим. Более того, те американцы, которые выигрывали на полноценном овале, а не той его части, которую вы видите сейчас на ваших экранах, те 500 миль в те времена даже иногда не знали, что они, оказывается, становились одновременно еще и победителями этапа Формулы-1. В общем, это недоразумение достаточно быстро закончилось, и по-настоящему Формула-1 пришла в США в 1959 году в виде уже полноценного гран-при, в котором участвовали, собственно говоря, те самые команды и пилоты, которые разыгрывали основной чемпионат мира. С тех пор, вот, соответственно, 49 раз. Не удивляйтесь разнице с количеством пройденных лет, скажем так, и количеством состоявшихся этапов. Дело в том, что Америка одна из редких трасс, где очень часто проходили 2, а то и 3 этапа. 8 раз принимала у себя Америка по 2 гонки Формулы-1 в году, а один раз в 1982 даже 3 гонки состоялись в Соединенных Штатах. Ну, соответственно, это называлось Гран-при Востока, Гран-при Запада США, в Лас-Вегасе были гонки. Вообще, если говорить о статистике, то те трассы, с которых, собственно говоря, F1 на стыке 50-х и 60-х начиналась в Формуле-1, то есть Себринг и Риверсайд, принимали у себя по одному гран-при. Затем Лас-Вегас дважды, Феникс 3 раза, больше других Детройт и Лонг-Бич по 8. И Формула-1 вот здесь, в Индианаполисе, в следующем году может дотянуться до этого достижения, потому что Инди на этот раз 7-й раз уже будет принимать у себя этап Формулы-1. Ну а больше всех знаменитая дорожная трасса Уоткинс-Глен, которая используется и по сей раз. И достаточно сказать, что в Наскаре из 36 этапов только 2 не проходят по овалам. И вот как раз одна из этих 2 дорожных трасс, это как раз Лонг-Бич, которая продолжает принимать у себя, Уоткинс-Глен, простите, который продолжает принимать у себя вот большие гонки и по сей день. Но Формула-1 с 2000 года обосновалась именно здесь, в Индианаполисе. Тони Джордж, который почувствовал, что вот этот раскол в чемпионатах Чемкара, соответственно, карта и ИРЛ, созданной им лиги, не пошел на пользу, в том числе и 500 милям. Конечно, это остается самым значимым состязанием. Вот недавно здесь как раз одновременно с Гран-при Монако, традиционно Формула-1, прошли 500 миль, которые выиграл, наконец, Сэм Корниш, но в которых блистала семья Андретти и Майкл, который вернулся после 3-летнего отсутствия ради этой гонки, и его сын и, соответственно, внук Марио Андретти, Марко Андретти, 19-летний дебютант, который едва не выиграл эту гонку. Ему не хватило, наверное, пары десятков метров для того, чтобы отбить последнюю атаку Сэма Корниша уже на финишной прямой. Естественно, что эта гонка стоит особняком. Но в целом вот это магическое слово Индианаполис начало чуть-чуть блекнуть. Формула-1 пошла навстречу Наскара, привела его сюда вместо знаменитых для него Дайтона и Шарлотты. Естественно, что гонка в Индианаполисе не вытеснила ту же самую Дайтону из сердец традиционных болельщиков Наскара, но тем не менее вот Брикьярд 400, который здесь проходит, также является значимым событием. И плюс ко всему этому Тони Джордж, соответственно, решил еще и провести этап Формулы-1 ни много ни мало здесь у себя в Индианаполисе. Ради этого внутри овала была построена вот эта трасса, которая полностью, в общем, дисгармонирует с тем, что мы видим вокруг, поскольку, ну, по словам здесь, например, инженеров BMW, очень интересное сравнение. Трасса, грубо говоря, то, что находится внутри овала в инфилде, можно сравнить с Монако. Собственно, другую часть с бэнкингом и длинной прямой возвращения, которую, кстати, в обратную сторону относительно 500 миль Индианаполиса, здесь едут пилоты Формулы-1, можно сравнить скорее с Монцей. Вот такой вот компромисс. Можете себе представить компромисс в настройках болидов. Соответственно, максимальная прижимная сила внутри овала и минимальная вот на этой длинной прямой. То же самое по составам резины. Плюс к этому, помним прошлогодний скандал, и там дело было даже не в мягкости или жесткости резины, сколько в ее устойчивости боковым перегрузкам, поскольку именно вот эта часть бэнкинга, да, она не представляет сложности для пилотов Формулы-1, потому что они, во-первых, только начинают перед ней разгоняться. Максимально в нижней точке там скорость где-то 260-270.
Tony, in qualifying, can you really try and, always keep me informed? The guy behind is on out lap, time lap, in lap, the guy in front, maybe, if it's a Ferrari, for example, say, and I'm starting my lap, say, push up.
Интересно, здесь Ник Росберг просил, чтобы его постоянно по ходу вот этой первой короткой 15-минутной сессии держали в курсе.
So 9 races to go in this year's Formula One World Championship. Michael Schumacher, 24.5 points behind Fernando Alonso. A situation which is not hopeless, according to Schumacher himself, but he certainly needs to turn things around here this weekend at Indianapolis, a track which has traditionally favoured the Ferrari package over the Renault package. This morning, Schumacher fastest in the free practice, 1 minute 10.760, a full second quicker than the fastest Renault. Very interesting times from the morning practice. There are the two Renault drivers, Alonso and Fisichella. And of the two, you'd have to say that Fisichella has been slightly the faster so far this weekend. He was ahead of his teammate again in free practice this morning, as he had been yesterday afternoon as well. Well, Schumacher's finished in second place on 4 occasions already this year, and it's pretty hard to take for a man who's not used to being the bridesmaid. So let's see if he can turn it around here at Indianapolis, a track on which he has won the race here 4 times previously. Mark Webber then out on track in the Williams, and he'll be looking to turn around a losing streak, Martin, of the last 2 races. 17th on the grid he's been for the last 2 Grand Prix, and missed the cut from this first knockout session of qualifying on both occasions.
Car looks a little bit of a handful, which is surprising in many ways. He's on the Bridgestone tyres, and on the Ferrari they appear to be absolutely mighty, and we're fully expecting the Ferraris to lock out the front row of the grid, judging by their performance this morning in free practice, and they were a country mile ahead. So you would imagine then also that the Midland team, Toyota and Williams here, would similarly have a big advantage, but it doesn't appear to be the case. So quite what Ferrari brought in and how well they're making them work is a bit of a mystery, but they certainly are working. But Webber was fighting the car quite hard on that outlap. Ralf Schumacher's gone fastest of the outlaps on a 1:22, so nobody has yet to complete a fast lap, but Webber does so on a 1:14.1, and that is very slow.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds slower than he managed this morning in the free practice session. There's Heidfeld out on track. He's also done a 14.1, and let's get some news about Mark Webber from Tech Kravitz.
Yeah, that's because he's on used tyres, James. I'm watching this first session from the Williams garage, and both Nico Rosberg and Mark Webber going out on used tyres. I think it's just as much of a shakedown as anything else. They have just rebuilt the cars, and they want to check everything's okay.
It rained heavily late yesterday afternoon and washed a lot of the Formula One rubber off, but I can see everybody struggling out there. There have been 2 or 3 other practice sessions, cars traditionally with much harder tyres, and I think the track is going to take a little while just to come back to the Formula One cars, James. From what I can see out there, everybody appears to be struggling for grip at either end of the car.
Well, certainly part of the reason for that will be the track temperature. 52 degrees it is out there at the moment, with an air temperature of 33 or 34 degrees, fluctuating between the two. It's more like Bahrain, really, than what we've been used to in the past here at Indianapolis, as Frank Montagny breaks for turn 1. Michael Schumacher is ready to go out on track, and we've seen some high-profile scalps in this first knockout phase of qualifying throughout the season. I wonder if we'll see some more today. Just to remind you of the format, we have 2 15-minute knockout sessions to start with. This is the first one, obviously. You see the clock counting down at the top. When that reaches 0, all laps are locked off, and the slowest 6 cars will be eliminated from qualifying. We'll do the same thing again.
С тем же Монтоей, например, когда они были в одной команде. Плюс к этому разбитый болид вот в этом скоростном повороте. Мы помним тогда достаточно жуткие кадры, когда долго не могли его достать из машины, и под Пескаром весь пелотон с Михаэлем Шумахером, его братом, проезжал раз за разом мимо разбитой машины Ральфа Шумахера. В прошлом году, когда он уже выступал в Тойоте, его вылет плюс вылет их третьего пилота, тогда Рикардо Зонте, собственно говоря, и положил начало вот этому вот шинному скандалу. Так или иначе, но и по ходу этого уикенда вчера у Тойоты и Ральфа Шумахера, и Ярна Трулли все абсолютно не ладилось. И сегодня, в общем, когда на трассе осталось уже только 22 боевых пилота, во время последней серии свободных заездов, показанные ими времена были достаточно средними. Трулли 14-й, Ральф Шумахер 15-й результаты. Оба уступили по 2 секунды и 3 десятых лучшему времени. но лучшее время принадлежало Михаэлю Шумахеру сегодня с утра. Менее 0,3 проиграл ему Масса, а вот все остальные во главе с Джанкарло Физикеллой и Ником Хайтфельдом на Рено и БМВ, соответственно, проиграли уже более секунды. Так что два болида Скудерии Феррари, которые выглядели, конечно,
and that's what you're seeing. They're spraying out of the back of the Toyota there as they've got it very low at the back of the car, high speed and a brand new plank underneath. That slows the car down quite considerably. That is a lot of drag and heat being generated underneath there. And I have to say, that looks rather excessive even for the conditions that I'm talking about as the cars are now race prepared. But that looks like too much dragging there. Albers has gone fastest for Midland at the moment with a 1:13.3 and clean. Albers on the Bridgestones, of course. There's another shot then of the Toyota dragging its backside down the racetrack. Not good.
Yeah, well, ride height is certainly one of the elements that creates the downforce of the cars. It's always a difficult calculation how high to run the cars. Here's Kimi Räikkönen, who certainly through free practice yesterday, and coming off the back of their performance in Montreal, you would have suggested would be challenging Renault for the race win here, and Ferrari as well. And it'll be very, very interesting to see whether they or Renault are the fastest Michelin team here. Räikkönen goes fifth, a 13.4, but that is still half a second slower than Thiago Monteiro, who's just gone through in the Midland to record the fastest time. So at the moment, with 8 minutes of this first knockout session remaining, you'd have to say that the Bridgestone teams are looking pretty strong, particularly Monteiro is first, Albers in the other Midland car is in fourth place.
Coulthard will be pleased. He's up in second at the moment. He was really struggling this morning and looking like a prime candidate to be a big scalp out in this first part of qualifying. But he did a 1:13.1, his quickest lap of the weekend, currently second, and it might just save his bacon in this first part of qualifying. And of course Michelin last year had those significant tyre problems. They said there's no way we'll go conservative in terms of tyre performance, tyre structural rigidity. Yes, of course, but you have to say they don't look like they've got the pace of the Bridgestones here this weekend.
Well, we've seen teams make the wrong tyre choices quite a few times this year, haven't we? Melbourne, we saw it, Monaco as well. I was talking to Ross Brawn, the Ferrari technical director, yesterday, saying, why is that? And he said, well, if you think about it, last year, the tyres that we had in Formula One were designed not to be changed at all in the Grand Prix. And the year before that, they had 200 more horsepower. So the reference point just isn't there, particularly at tracks where we don't come to test or anything. Once a year, we come here to Montreal and those kind of places. And it's very definitely trying to hit a moving target when you decide exactly how to build your tyres for these racetracks. And maybe we're seeing that again this weekend.
Yes, well, what happens is they test these tyres in Paul Ricard in the south of France or any of the tracks down in Spain, and they have to kind of simulate the circumstances they're expecting. But we've got a track temperature here of 53 degrees centigrade today. Now, could they possibly have guesstimated that? So there's a big fudge factor, and you're right, James. They're only allowed to bring two types of tyre here, and even so, occasionally neither of those two types are really suited. Montoya goes fastest on a 1:12.4, which is not even really still the kind of serious lap times I was expecting. Ted.
Jensen's been called into the weighbridge again, Martin. I do not believe it. The mechanics were out for him with his tyres in the pit lane, but just like Silverstone, again, is just behind me, the engine of Nico Rosberg struggles to get going. I looked down, tried to see Jensen coming down the pit lane, and a guy came out with a clipboard and pushed him in towards the FIA weighbridge. So, wow, I mean, we got 5 minutes, 50 seconds. That should be enough, but they have got fuel and new tyres waiting for Jensen. Honda aren't going to make this mistake twice.
Well, at Silverstone, they calculated they needed around 3 minutes to turn him around. So let us know when Jensen Button leaves the weighbridge, Ted. We'll need to know that information. We'll keep an eye out for how he's getting on and whether he's going to make it out onto the track. Currently, Jensen is in 7th place on a 1:13.5. and that's 9/10 of a second faster than the man on the cusp of the drop zone at the moment, which is Nico Rosberg with his 1:14.4. But we see the times will definitely improve over the next 5 minutes, so that is not a safe time for Jensen Button. It's incredibly close at the front. Michael Schumacher does a 1:11.5, but behind him, between 4th place between 3rd place Monteiro and 9th place Cleon is just 4/10 of a second. Ted.
Yeah, and Jensen is back in his pit box. They've been nice and quick, nice and efficient, the Americans at the weighbridge. 4 minutes, 50 seconds left, and they've bolted on the new Michelin tyres. and they're not putting any fuel in, which is interesting. So he must have been fueled already for another 3 laps. One hot lap, and he's out again. Jensen should be okay.
Watching him out of the window here, Jensen so nearly ran into the side of a Toro Rosso coming out of the pit lane. But it's a short lap here too, just 71 seconds it seems today to do a lap. So you need less time to get that out lap and fast lap underway and completed. 4 minutes 22 remaining.
Yeah, it's about a 9 second shorter lap than it was at Silverstone. So more than enough time for Jensen to do possibly even a couple of laps. Let's wait and see. At the moment then, in the drop zone with 4 minutes to go, are Liuzzi, which was the Toro Rosso that Jensen very nearly hit on his as he came out of his pit box. Weber, he's got to get himself out of there again, hasn't he? Sato, Rosberg, both Williams then down at the back, as well as Montagny, and you can see it's changing all the time now as Trulli drops into that zone. Keep your eyes then on those red boxes, and when the clock stops at 0, all of the guys in red there will be out of the first knockout session.
Yes, now Button's got to get out and get a time done. He's on track. So's Coulthard. Coulthard's dropped down to 13th at the moment. Ralf Schumacher and Trulli, the 2 Toyotas, out on track and out of the qualifying if they don't improve their positions. I think everybody's going to have to get out there in the anywhere from sort of 10 backwards, going to have to get out there and get another time in, James.
Absolutely. Well, we were talking about how the track is improving. A moment ago, I told you that Rosberg was the guy on the cusp in 16th place on a 14.4. 16th place is now a 13.4. So the track has got a second faster, or the cars are going a second faster out there on the track than they were before. This target is moving all the time. It's certainly coming towards Jenson Button now. He's got a 13.4 himself. He's in 15th place. He's going to need to find some pace.
Coulthard and Button just in at the moment. Button's done his fastest first sector. I think Rosberg's going to be struggling to make this first cut. The Williams not fast, and in any event, Rosberg's got to take a 10-place drop for an engine change after his incident last week end in Canada. Ralf Schumacher looks like he's done enough to get himself. He's up in P3, as you can now see on the bottom of the screen. He's out of danger then, and Button is on the cusp of being knocked out. He's 16th.
Yeah, but it's looking okay at the moment. His first sector, his middle sector, is 3/10 slower than Michael Schumacher. His first sector was about the same as Schumacher, who is currently in second place on a 1:11.5. So at the moment, Jensen's on target to be around about 3rd or 4th if he can complete this lap at the same sort of pace. Here he is. We're riding on board with him, and this should put him into the party for the second part. A 1:12.2 for Button goes 7th.
So that's a comfortable position then. Coulthard down in 15th and Klein 17th with 2 Red Bulls. They're under pressure. Rosberg still can't beat a 1:13.5. So he doesn't have to change his engine because, of course, he didn't finish the race in Canada last weekend due to that incident with Montoya. So you're allowed to change without taking a penalty. Massa comfortably fastest for Ferrari by half a second over teammate Michael Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher 3rd on a 1:11.8. Heidfeld on a 1:11.8 and then it moves quickly into the 1:12. Jarno Trulli out of the car and clearly then out of qualifying. He's 19th.
Well, that's extraordinary for Jarno Trulli. 4th on the grid in Montreal last Sunday. He's 19th at the moment with Liuzzi out there. Not enough time for Liuzzi to, well, might just be enough time for Liuzzi to improve his time. But he's down there at the back alongside Rosberg. Christian Klein, who was under pressure, as we were hearing from his team boss, Christian Horner. He needed some big results. This is not at all what Klein needed to keep his seat in Formula One. And at the front, we have a Bridgestone 1, 2, 3, 4. Massa fastest, Michael Schumacher 2nd, Ralf Schumacher 3rd, 1, 2, 3, I beg your pardon. Heidfeld is now popped up into 4th place for BMW. And then it's Villeneuve, his teammate, in 5th. Barrichello 6th for Honda. 7th for Honda is Jenson Button. And the 2 Renaults, Martin, are 8th and 9th.
Coulthard's out. Coulthard is not going to make it. Klein's now got himself up to P12. Coulthard's 17th and will not complete this current lap. He's out of qualifying. Coulthard, Sato, Rosberg, Trulli, Liuzzi, who's not on a particularly good lap either, and Montagny is out too. So David Coulthard, as we expected, is the first big scalp.
Yeah, he was bumped out actually by his teammate Christian Klein. I was saying that he was under some pressure here this weekend, and Klein improved to do a 12.7 to go 13th. Coulthard, a 13-1 leaves him 17th, so we're going to lose Coulthard, Sato, Rosberg, Trulli, Liuzzi, who has been outperformed here by his teammate Scott Speed, who makes the cut, and also Frank Montagny. Second qualifying knockout coming up in a moment.
Естественно, будет аннулировано, все начнется сначала, но нам хотя бы будет с чем сравнивать во второй серии. Вот 16 счастливчиков на ваших экранах, ну а я предлагаю вам уже абсолютно точно сконцентрироваться на трех последних рядах стартового поля в завтрашней гонке. Итак, Red Bull Дэвида Култхарда и Супер Агури Такумы Сато. Блестящая квалификация просто японца. Именно здесь он завоевал свой первый подиум в карьере в 2004 году на Бархонде, вы помните. Следом за ними на 10-м ряду стартового поля Вильямс Косворс, Ника Росберга и Тойота Ярна Трулли, прошлогоднего обладателя пол позишн в Индианаполисе. Ну и последний ряд стартового поля Торо Росса, Витантонио Льюци и вторая Супер Агури Франко Монтани. Мы с вами прерываемся на пару минут и затем продолжим вот эту квалификацию из Индианаполиса в прямом эфире на Ре. С вами вновь РЕН-ТВ, российский голос Формулы-1. В прямом эфире с трассы в Индианаполисе арены квалификации перед Гран-при США 10-м этапом чемпионата мира 2006 года. Филиппе Масса только что в первой серии показал время 1:11,88 секунды. Но это на секунду медленнее, чем сегодня с утра на свободных заездах его партнер по команде Михаэль Шумахер. Соответственно, Феррари пока по ходу квалификации подтверждает, собственно, свой темп свободных заездов. Здесь комбинация и Бриджстоуна, и аэродинамики этой машины, и, естественно, мощности мотора. Ника Росберг, один из 6 неудачников первого сеанса на ваших экранах. Неделю назад буквально он был на 7-м небе, вернее, на 6-м небе, если считать от пол позишн, ибо смог квалифицироваться на 3-м ряду стартового поля. На этот раз он не попадает даже во второй сегмент квалификации. Так, еще раз напомню, на последнем 11-м ряду стартового поля Льюци и Монтани, на 10-м Росберг и Трулли, на 9-м Култхард и Сато. Остальные 16 пилотов во второй сегмент прошли. Лучшее время было у двух болидов Феррари Масса и Михаэль Шумахер. Затем Тойота Ральфа Шумахера, при том, что...
Ralph, comparing your last flying lap to the first, by using a lower gear in turns 4 and 7, you had much better acceleration out the corner.
Значит, сам Ральф просил добавить ему чуть-чуть прижимной силы спереди, буквально на одно движение, на один клик, сделать больше прижимной силы. Инженер же просил его сравнить, собственно говоря, поведение машины на первом круге и последующем в скоростных поворотах. Тиаго Монтейро на ваших экранах. Монтейро, который провел просто блестящую только что первый отрезок. Вы видели, что температура сейчас достигла 35 градусов. Соответственно, асфальт 53 градуса. В принципе, к такой жаре здесь, наверное, не привыкли, потому что предыдущие, ну, во-первых, первые разы вообще, после того, как Индианаполис попал в календарь Формулы-1, он всегда проводился в конце сезона, предпоследней гонкой, и лишь затем вот его объединили с канадским Гран-при, стали проводить вот такую североамериканскую серию выездную подряд. Соответственно, вот такая температура летняя здесь, я думаю, что также не стала большой проблемой для шинников, потому что вообще традиционно так получилось, что по ходу этого сезона мы практически...
Out on track then, Mark Webber and Jacques Villeneuve. There is Juan Pablo Montoya, who was 10th fastest in that first knockout session on a 1:12.4. 1.4 seconds slower than the fastest man, Felipe Massa. Well, we saw Tiago Monteiro. There is Christian Albers, his teammate. Both of them have made it through the first knockout session on one occasion so far this season each. So they have been here before, and certainly looking quite strong. Can they go all the way and get themselves into the top 10? That really would be something. That car's been improving quite a bit during the course of the season. On average for the year, they're 2.8 seconds off the front-running car. That's an average across the first half of the season. But recently, Martin, they've certainly been getting closer, haven't they? And in Montreal, we saw them within a couple of seconds of the front-running car.
Yeah, it's a great performance. I think Johnny Herbert described their aero budget as £1.59 yesterday when we were talking about it. But clearly they're spending more than that and doing, but nothing like the big teams, and doing a very, very good job with it in this middle part of the season. Ted has further news.
Down at Williams, it seems that Nico Rosberg's problem was set up as well, not a technical problem like Jarno Trulli had. He had already messed up the first sector of his last chance lap, Martin, and they told him just to come in and park it. But it's bad for Williams. It's the third race running that a Williams has gone out in the first qualifying session.
Difficult times there then, but they have got the Toyota engine now for next year, which should be a strong unit.
Yep.
The Cosworth's not been too shabby either, has it, for them?
No, it's been good. It's been revving to a little mistake there from Villeneuve, a lock-up of the right front wheel. That lost him quite a lot of time there in turn 9. It's a very fiddly section there. 40 miles an hour, turn 9, 60 mile an hour, turn 10. Very slow and deliberate. They've got to be on the throttle through there. Then up onto the banking. Through 11, here through 12, and then coming into turn 13, where there's 1,200 kilos of load on the left rear tyre as they go through that corner for well over 10 seconds. If you imagine something weighing 1,200 kilos, I mean, quite a few family cars weigh that kind of amount. Imagine just pushing that down onto the left rear tyre. That's literally what it means. It's amazing. It doesn't just rip the tyre off the rim, and that's a big part of the background to what happened here last year. Was the tyre that Michelin came with simply wasn't capable of withstanding that kind of load, and they were going a little faster through there last year, obviously, because the engines were 200 horsepower more powerful. So that's why it happened last year. They've taken steps to avoid it happening this year with lots of computer analysis, and certainly everybody seems to be going pretty quick through turn 13.
You know, I wonder if that BMW is not the quickest car on Michelin's here this weekend. They're certainly going very strongly in free practice and the first two parts of this qualifying. Heidfeld's currently first, Villeneuve's third, but we saw him make a specific mistake, and he's currently the fastest man in the middle sector on his second lap. I suspect he'll abandon that anyway and get ready for a final effort, but BMW looking extremely strong.
Yeah, they've been getting stronger and stronger as the season has gone on. A lot of talk about their rear wing, the flexibility thereof, but certainly Villeneuve and his flexible friend behind him are currently third fastest on a 1:12.3. The pace setter is teammate Heidfeld, a 1:11.7 just gone through. So Heidfeld fastest, Ralf Schumacher second fastest. And yet to see times from Alonso, who has now just begun a flying lap here with just under 10 minutes to go in this session. Here we are riding on board with Alonso. Let's see how the Renault's handling today.
Well, bucket loads of understeer, as it seems to have had all through free practice. That's the front just not sticking to the road. A lot of... Hello? It sounded like the wrong gear to me. Sounded like it didn't come down the gear that he wanted. Onto the backside, about half a kilometre long, to about 180 miles an hour, and you're looking for a tiny piece of curve on the left-hand side. And once again, he throws the steering wheel at the corner, and the Renault reacts rather slowly at the front, and that seems to have been the pattern all through the weekend, trying to drag it round on the curb, using like a railway line, and he's 8/10 down. Renault are off the pace. I think they're going to need a damage limitation weekend here, because I just don't think they've got raw pace around this circuit.
No, they're under threat not only from Ferrari, clearly, who were fastest in that first session, but also from McLaren as well, and Ferrari would love it if McLaren could get between themselves and Renault, and Alonso were to score perhaps less than 4 points here tomorrow afternoon, with Schumacher perhaps taking the race win. That would help a lot to cut into that 25-point deficit that Michael Schumacher has to Fernando Alonso. There's Nico Rosberg, simply a spectator now in this second knockout, having been eliminated in the first part.
Tell you what, I can see Renault struggling to get two cars in the top 10. One of them could well be under threat with this to get into this final top 10 shootout. Barrichello and Button out on track at the moment, and Button goes over the line, P4. Alonso's now down to 9th. Now he's down to 10th as Barrichello always has put another 1:11.5. Barrichello goes fastest.
Yeah, a bit of a specialist round here at Indianapolis. A pole sitter a few years ago, and a winner of this race as well in the Ferrari. Rubens has always gone well here at Indianapolis. Feels very at home here. So he is currently fastest. His teammate Button down to 5th. Heidfeld second. Ralf Schumacher third. Fisichella, the faster of the two Renaults all weekend. That form is being carried through again here this afternoon. He's 4th on a 1:11.9. Alonso 10th on a 1:12.5. The world champion is under pressure with 7.5 minutes of the session to go. He's dived into the pits for a new set of tyres, and he's having to have a bit of a think about it.
Well, he'll have to try and crank some front wing on or find front grip somehow if he wants to get in to this top 10. Barrichello faster than Heidfeld, Ralf Schumacher. It's really an unusual lineup at the moment. Fisichella 4th for Renault, Button 5th for Honda, Raikkonen 6th for McLaren, closely followed by his teammate, both on 1:12.1s, Montoya. Villeneuve 8th at the moment, Webber in the Williams Cosworth in a strong 9th at this time, followed by Alonso, clean speed. Michael Schumacher and Felipe Massa yet to post a time. I think they're so confident and comfortable that they've got the pace they need. They'll only be using one set of tyres in this session if they can get away with it.
Speed goes 12th. The people hoping to spring a surprise are Montero and Albers. With 6.5 minutes of the session to go, they have not yet been out in this knockout, so they haven't set a time. They're waiting till the track conditions are at their absolute best, and then they're going to go out and give it everything.
What was that, Mark? Yeah, I got monster toe of Villeneuve, so that worked well. Getting a bit more grip to finish the lap now. Still need to make sure the pressure is surviving the whole lap, so the out lap was very slow. Still too much understeer at turn 3. Sorry, turn 4. A bit too much at turn 6. Rear is still unstable in turn 7. The car is quite light, finishing lap at turn 11.
Slightly stilted way he speaks. That's not the normal sound of Mark Webber, but very clear message there anyway. Now, Jarno Trulli is out of the qualifying session. He was knocked out in the first part, and he is now talking with Louise Goodman.
Yeah, big disappointment for Jarno, and a big surprise as well. That wasn't on the schedule, was it?
Well, unfortunately, I've had a problem with the rear suspension during my first lap, so I had to slow down and come back in the pit. Tried to change the third element on the rear, but we didn't have enough time, and also they stopped me at the scale, so really everything went wrong for me.
How good do you think this weekend could have been from you if you'd been starting from your normal position?
We were actually very competitive, even if we didn't show it much this morning and yesterday, but we were really hoping for a good result today.
Thanks, bad luck.
Remember, of course, it was Jarno Trulli's Toyota that was dragging along the ground, wasn't it? So clearly a ride height issue. He said he had problem with his rear suspension, and that is why he was so slow.
Well, there's been something very strange going on with the time transponder in Michael Schumacher's car all weekend. He was shown on the computer as being out on the track. It suddenly popped through. He's done a 1:10.6. We can only presume he really has done a 1:10.6, but it didn't show up on the computer until much later. And the same thing happened this morning in free practice, and it's happened a few times recently, I've noticed, during Grand Prix. His transponder's gone wonky for 3 or 4 laps at a time, so something very odd going on there. But either way, he is the fastest man out there on a 1:10.6, so he's the first to break into the 10s then during this qualifying hour. His teammate once again is behind him, half a second. Felipe Massa in second place on a 1:11.1. Barrichello third, fourth Heidfeld, fifth Ralf Schumacher, sixth, the faster of the two Renaults, Giancarlo Fisichella, seventh Button, eighth Raikkonen, and ninth Montoya. Two McLarens then in the top 10 at the moment, with Villeneuve in 10th, and it's very close amongst the men who are just outside the top 10. 4/100ths of a second separating Alonso in 12th from Webber in 11th. So it's going to be very, very close as to who makes it. Montoya there, a little replay of him getting wild. And Ted has some news for us.
Yeah, and they're not at all sure down at Honda about Jenson Button. He's now in 7th on a 12.1, but they changed the tyre pressures and a bit of front wing. He's gone out on new tyres yet again, tried to secure a place in the last quality place.
Montoya's had a poor second run, so he's down in 9th at the moment. Will he be a shock exit and not playing a part in the top 10? Webber then, who was telling us he had a monster toe, he just got in the right part of the slipstream of Jacques Villeneuve, and I think he was basically saying that's why I was so quick in the first part on a 1:12.5, but he needs another monster toe somewhere, because at the moment he's not in the top 10.
Well, a toe is a slipstream down the main straight. It certainly helps a lot. And what's it worth around here in Indianapolis? It's about 8 miles an hour. It will add to your maximum speed down the straight, which is around about 205 miles an hour normally. So you can see the difference. Takes you up to about 212, 213 down the straight, and cuts a little bit, crucial little bit, off your lap time. Here's Mark Webber then with 2 minutes and 38 seconds of this session remaining. He has got time for another run, if this isn't quite quick enough, but this is the new tyre run for Webber, and it yields him 10th. Very vulnerable indeed, just a 10th of a second faster than Jacques Villeneuve, who is out on track 0.3 of a second quicker than Webber was in Sector 1. Webber's looking vulnerable.
The reason they move away from the wall down the straight is there's a big cushion of air coming off the side of the car, and it can create drag, so they move away and then back towards the wall into the braking zone. Montero and Albers are out there in the Midlands. They're giving themselves just one shot at shocking the Grandee teams this afternoon for this top 10 shootout, and there they both are on track. I hope one of them doesn't make a mistake. It'll affect both of them heavily. Barrichello's on a quick lap. He's currently third, best of the non-Ferraris. Heidfeld's up to fourth. Villeneuve's up to fifth. Ralf Schumacher's sixth, all on 1:11.7s. Fisichella seventh, Button eighth. Raikkonen and Montoya ninth and 10th. And Alonso has got to get it done now. 1.5 minutes before the flag drops and they switch off the clocks.
The world champion is under pressure. He's half a second a lap faster than the Midlands, so it's not them that are going to put him under pressure as Montero goes through and registers 14th fastest time. Albers does the 14th fastest time, bumps Montero down to 15th. Alonso 12th at the moment then. His middle sector isn't particularly fast, slower than Barrichello, who's now in third place. But what is Alonso going to squeak into the top 10? Here he is, the world champion, under pressure really for the first time this season. He goes through in 7th, a 1:11.8. How far away from the drop is he? Just 0.3 of a second. Who's out there that could challenge him? Raikkonen's on the bubble.
Montoya's 11th.
Fisichella, sorry, he can challenge him as well.
Yeah, Fisichella is looking like he's getting a banker lap in, but it's Montoya who needs to deliver something. And I don't think he's got any tyres left. He's got 40 seconds to get around, so that's not a problem from where he is on the track. Well, I don't know, actually. That's nip and tuck. That's going to be very, very close as to whether Montoya can get to the end of the lap. 27 seconds to go, and it's a 20-second final sector. So, yes, he will just about make it, I think, Montoya. That's going to be 18 seconds. No, he's not going to get it done now, and he's got a car in front of him. Fisichella's gone third for Renault. Renault are finding their way in the dying moments of this second quali session, but they're third, and Alonso now down to 9th. Montoya's done his quickest middle sector. Can he? Well, if he puts anybody out, it'll be his teammate Raikkonen. Over the line he goes, and what is it? No, it's not. It's another 12-1.
Oh, no, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't have done it. It wouldn't have done it. 1:12.162. Sorry for cutting across you there, Martin. It wasn't fast enough. Raikkonen a 1:12.135, and Montoya had a 1:12.150 before. So let's have a look and confirm who's in the drop zone. Montoya misses out by 0.02 of a second on making it into the top 10. Also missing the cut, Mark Webber for Williams. Scott Speed, there is Mark Webber. Scott Speed for Toro Rosso. The two Midlands of Albers and Montero, who left it late but just didn't quite have enough pace. And Christian Klein in the Red Bull, who was 16th and last in that session. Pole position shootout coming right up.
17-м, Кристиан Клин 16-м. Поражение, конечно, для Кристиана Хорнера и его команды. С другой стороны, с 22-го места Кулхард приехал в очки в Монреале, но там это было из-за замены мотора. Что касается 8-го ряда стартового поля, то 7-го, вернее, ряда стартового поля, то там Скотт Спид все-таки перед своей публикой на 13-м месте из 22 пилотов будет стартовать в середине пелотона. Неплохой результат для пилота Торо Россо, который опережает Кристиана Альберса на Мидленде. Ну и, наконец, 6-й ряд стартового поля. Первые из тех, кто не попал в зачетную десятку, это Хуан Пабло Монтойя и Марк Вебер. Что же касается десятки, то через пару минут она продолжит между собой борьбу за пол-позишн. А это Шумахер и Масса, Физикелла и Баррикелла, Ральф Шумахер и Ник Хайтфельд, Жак Вильнёв и Дженсен Баттон, Фернандо Алонсо и Кими Райконен.
Welcome back to Indianapolis, where we're approaching our own penalty shootout. But first, Montoya, the man who won't be taking a penalty, he's not in the last 10, not in the shootout.
Well, it's like an own goal, just to see what's gone on with Montoya, because basically what's happened, Angus, is they've run out of time. And that's one of the issues with these qualifying periods. When the clock stops, that's it. end of that lap, it just doesn't count. Unfortunate for Montoya, actually was doing his fastest last sector, just run out of time and didn't get the lap going at all.
Because he was pretty confident that they had found a bit of speed during Montreal and since Montreal.
Oh, definitely so. McLaren had picked up a little bit of speed, but it's just down to timing, just run out of physical time left there. You see there, 0-0-0 at the top there of the screen. That's the end of it. No matter what he did, it wasn't going to count.
As soon as that happens, you're out. No chance.
No chance whatsoever. And he's going to be a little bit pig sick about that. He knows full well that he's got half a car under him to get a good result.
The Renaults have been struggling as well.
You know, well, Fisichella's been running okay. Yeah. He's definitely been running fine, but Alonso's having a bit of a struggle. He just really didn't have a good run there and struggled to get 7th.
OK, Mark Webber is also out of the shootout, and he's now with Louise.
Mark, nothing could tow you into the top 10.
No, we needed a lot more grip than probably we could muster, really, so it's a shame we're not in the last 10, but I did everything we could to try and get the car as strong as possible, but trying to look for slipstreams and everything to try and get a bit more pace, but we don't have the grip.
But the Bridgestones are looking quite strong, so it's not the tyres per se.
No, that's right. Bridgestone are doing well with some other teams, so we need to get some more grip into our car, but I think the race will be, pretty tough for us. It's nothing. There's no, we knew we had a bit of a problem yesterday, so we're trying our best to fix it, but need more grip.
Cheers.
Well, the team finding it easiest or best at the moment, it seems, is Ferrari.
Yeah, definitely. Ferrari have made some big strides, and you can see that power of the Ferrari engine just coming through. Michael Schumacher is exceptional around here. He knows what it takes to get a good car, and he's definitely doing that.
And he has that record here.
He does. He has a great record here. He loves the circuit, and as I say, Ferrari always run well here, and I think we're going to see a good result from that team again.
OK, let's get back to James and Martin.
Well, it's a bit like a mini Grand Prix, this, as they go out for the final stages of qualifying. Then we'll have a phase in which they do a few laps, burn off some fuel, and then at the end the actual pole position shootout will be in the final 5 minutes of this 20-minute session. And of course they all want to get out first so they can go at the exact pace that they want to. So we had a sort of a drag race, almost like a Grand Prix start, with Alonso and Michael Schumacher accelerating out of the pit lane side by side, and they were almost banging wheels as Alonso got into turn 1 in front of Michael Schumacher, just showing that he's determined to show Schumacher that he's not going to have it all his own way here this afternoon. We've also seen I think it was Fisichella trying to pass one of the BMWs to get improved position. So it's pretty exciting stuff out there. But there's no question at all that so far in this qualifying hour, Bridgestone have been dominating, and they have never lost here at Indianapolis. In the 6 previous visits we've made here, Bridgestone have won every single time, with Michelin pulling out of Formula 1 at the end of this year. This is Michelin's last chance to win the American Grand Prix in Indianapolis. Well, Montoya is out. Let's hear from him. He's talking to Louise.
Just not happening for McLaren today, Juan Pablo.
No, we're a bit unlucky as well. My first lap was pretty good. It was the fastest of the session, and it was pretty close to being in. Put on the next set of tires, and I caught Michael in the very slow hairpins. When he moved out of the way, it was too late. And then in the last lap, we ran 3 sets, and in the last lap, what's his name, Montero, he was doing probably 100 Ks, and he was right in the apex of the last corner and screwed my lap again.
So bad luck rather than any lack of speed in the car?
Yeah, I think the speed is there. It's just, our strength has never been qualified. I think we've got a strong race car, and it's a bit of a shame we should have been in the last session.
Cheers.
Yes, he threw 3 brand new sets of tyres at it in 15 minutes of 7 that he comes here and is allowed to use over the weekend. I can only sort of see it being about sort of boys, really, that big rush down to the first one. It doesn't matter. They're going to get 2.1 kilograms of fuel back for every lap they complete. And as long as you're roughly in the front pack, I don't think it's going to make any difference at all. I think it's just a bit of fun for them to have a race down to the first corner. The only good thing for Alonso is he's not running. His engine won't be getting quite as hot out front there as Michael's will be in his slipstream. But you could already see that Schumacher was shaping up to have a little look at him down the pit straight here. The Ferrari is mighty fast in a straight line.
Might be quite a nice initiative for this final phase of qualifying, actually, to introduce overtaking. A little spice in the early part of it.
They could give them an extra ½ litre of fuel or something, couldn't they, for each overtake?
Great idea. So, as I say, this is Michelin's last opportunity to win the American Grand Prix at Indianapolis. And here is one of the men who will certainly be trying to do that for them tomorrow, Kimi Räikkönen. Well, we've heard from Mark Webber, the Williams, as to what happened to him this afternoon. We lost Nico Rosberg in the first knockout session. Let's find out from Louise now why that was.
Nico, Mark was complaining of a lack of grip. Were you having the same problem?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, when you put on new tires, the grip that we normally would have expected just isn't there at the moment, and we don't really know where the problem is. But yeah, that's the way it is, and I'm quite disappointed, obviously, to be out.
But did you go into this session knowing that it wasn't going to go particularly well for you?
Yeah, definitely. I knew it was going to be very difficult. The thing also is at the moment that I'm not really able to push, you know, and try and get these extra little tenths out of it, because I know I don't have a proper feeling for the car, and when I push hard, I know that I'm going to make a mistake. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to go right on the limit, and yeah, and that's the result.
Thank you.
Michael Schumacher getting a huge tow there and passing Fernando Alonso. Now, in the first two 15-minute sessions, you wouldn't get away with it, but what we have seen here in the past is teammates helping each other out. If you've got a teammate in this top 10 shootout, and if you could coordinate it so that your in-lap was the start of, or the end of your fast lap was the start of your teammate's fast lap, you could tow each other along this back straight here and gain 2 or 3 tenths of a second. Renault looked like they could well do with some of that. But this session now, really, for me, is all about who can be third on the grid. Ferrari surely have got it all locked out on the front row. What do you think, Ted?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about the towing tactics, though, Martin. And as you say, it is absolutely crucial that the guys in front giving the guy behind a tow is actually on his in-lap, because otherwise, clearly, he's going to block him in the first sector. I know that Honda have been considering doing that with Rubens Barrichello and Jenson Button. Which one is going to do what? We'll have to wait and see. And Ferrari have been considering it as well. But talking about that Ferrari, Martin, have you noticed that they put a central strut in the middle of their rear wing for the first time? I think they put it in Canada, actually. It's interesting development after all those flexi wing stories earlier in the year.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ted. The problem is you don't really want to give your teammate a tow. The first person you want to be ahead of is your teammate. That's who your point of reference is.
Can we cool it down, please? So find a gap or sit out of the tow just to cool it down, please.
That's what I was talking about earlier on. If you're just following closely another car, your temperatures go up at least 5 degrees. So Barrichello being told there, find yourself a gap, don't put any more stress on the engine than you have to, and that's exactly what Rubens has done. He's dropped himself off the back of that pack in the white Honda.
Yep, so no sooner did Jock Clear, the race engineer, tell him to find a gap, but Rubens got out of it and allowed Ralf Schumacher to go through, and now Rubens' engine will run a little cooler. They're lapping then in the high 113s, mid 114s in some cases, as they burn off the fuel. Then they get 2.1 kilos of fuel back for every lap they do during this phase, and at the end of it they'll have around about 10 kilos of fuel left in the car for when they go out to qualify, so just enough to do an out lap, a fast lap and an in lap with a little bit to spare. Well, McLaren come here off the back of 3 consecutive top 3 qualifying slots for Kimi Räikkönen. One of the BMWs going slowly there. Nick Heidfeld, that's not in the script. He's found some bit more drive, and he's trying to get it back to the garage. And I don't know if he's going to make it, actually, Nick Heidfeld.
Well, that's compromised his fuel credit run, and possibly, no, he's not going to make it back, look. So it looked like it did burst back into life, didn't it? But it's failed again. So Nick Heidfeld looking as if he's going to be 10th out of 10. And bad news for him, because he certainly appeared to have some great speed. Probably very good news for Fernando Alonso, because, as I said earlier, he's on a damage limitation. There's another Ferrari passing Alonso, and down the pit straight. The Renaults do not appear to have a straight line speed, but Massa then outbraking himself when he got there.
Well, according to the computer, the straight line speed trap, Felipe Massa, the fastest man down the straight on 334 kilometers an hour, which is about 210 miles an hour, and Alonso 328, so only 6 kilometers an hour, about 3.5 miles an hour slower down the straights, the Renault compared to the Ferrari.
Well, that's plus then the tow, of course, that the Ferrari picks up behind, so it's probably 10 clicks or something when he gets into the hole in the air.
Find 1 second, Jacques. Try to go 1 second quicker.
Okay, just giving the Jacques the hurry up to make sure that he stays within the 20% rule. He's got a lap within 120% of his fastest time in qualifying to get the fuel credit. That's to make sure the drivers don't coast around and just use up half the amount of fuel and get the full amount of fuel back, if that makes any sense to you.
Yes, Villeneuve was lapping in the 115s. He's just now got himself into the 114s for the first time. Well, his single was released on the Monday after the Canadian Grand Prix. 5,000 copies of the single, which we heard a little snatch of during our coverage of the Canadian Grand Prix last Sunday. And I haven't really heard too much news about what the take-up was like, but certainly been an awful lot of interest in Villeneuve's musical career. And it's interesting, in today, in one of the papers, he was talking about what he might do after Formula One. It's certainly a possibility still that he may not be in Formula One next season, despite having performed very well, certainly in the early part of 2006. But a lot of pressure on his seat from Robert Kubica, their mercurial test driver at BMW Sauber. And Villeneuve saying that NASCAR would definitely be the top option rather than going back to open wheel racing in America, either in Champ Car or IRL. He'd certainly prefer, if he had to go back to NASCAR, but his family are settled in Europe, and he thinks it would be quite difficult to move back to North America. So watch this space, but odd that Villeneuve would choose this weekend to start airing views like that. When you start talking about the afterlife, it generally means that you're on your way to the exit door.
Jacques a very straightforward man, and he's very transparent. He wouldn't be good at all the cunning plans of sending out misinformation and other information, as it were, but he's going well. There are several drivers out there looking for drives at the moment, and one or two surprising names too. Certainly Montoya's management are the team that are working hardest out there to find him a slot, but Jacques too under pressure.
We saw a graphic a moment ago of apex speeds at turn 11. We're coming up to turn 11 now, riding with Jenson Button. This is turn 11 here. And the reason why they're measuring those apex speeds there is because that is the final corner that leads out onto the banking. So the speed that you carry through that corner and out of it is very important for the speed that you'll have along the straight. It's a very, very important corner here at Indianapolis. And it was good to see Jenson Button, fastest man through turn 11. Certainly the Honda works well in the low-speed corners, turns 9 and 10. If you go down and watch, you can hear Jenson's able to trail the throttle, and he seems to carry a higher speed through there than any of the other runners. And well, that's a good sign for Jenson, who seems to be back now solidly amongst the top 10 after a miserable time at Silverstone earlier in the month.
I wonder if Massa can beat Michael Schumacher to pole, because it's just between those two. The time's completely unrepresentative at the moment. They're coasting around on the oldest tyres they've got, burning up. Really is still as little fuel. They'll have the mixture leaned off, the revs down. They'll be hoping to only use, say, 1.9 kilos and get 2.1 back. Michael Schumacher's shown it a 1:13.7, but that's not even really a true race pace.
That's interesting because normally in this fuel burn-off, it's a question of not falling asleep, really, for the drivers. They're lapping off the pace and just trying to work out to stay within the 110% Martin was explaining before. But it seems to me like Fernando Alonso's been using this as an additional practice session. He's been almost using this as a long run, pushing very hard all the way through. He's now come into the pits to take on a new set of tyres, but clearly Alonso still has a lot of work to do on the race setup of this car.
Well, every time I've looked out the window of the commentary box, he's being molested by a Ferrari down the pit straight here. So if it's his race practice, and you're right, he's been going round and round, then he can't be feeling too confident about tomorrow. Ted has some news on Nick Heidfeld's problem.
Well, yeah, the engineers think it's something electric. They haven't seen anything on the telemetry. It was an instant failure. Nick came on the radio, just said, "I'm sorry, guys, it's stopped," and then got out. But just on the will they do a tow question, Martin, it looks like Honda won't, actually, because both of the cars are in the pits now for new tyres. Rubens Barrichello just getting the signal to leave now, and they're making a few adjustments to the front wing of Jenson Button as well. He go out at the same time. So they're both out on new tyres.
They've been making quite a lot of adjustments to the front wings of those Hondas. And certainly this morning in the free practice, they took 3.5 turns of front wing out of Rubens's car and 3 turns out of Jenson's car. So reducing the amount of front downforce to give themselves a bit more straight line speed. Again, a little adjustment there to the front wing of Michael Schumacher's car. and he's really only got his teammate Felipe Massa to beat. Well, Schumacher has been on pole already 3 times here at Indianapolis, and he's something of a specialist around this place. Already 4 times a winner here, and it's a tall order, I think, for Massa to try and beat Michael Schumacher around here.
Well, Ferrari got such an advantage, you wonder if Massa's almost been told not to beat him, because they don't want to have to go out and use another set of tyres racing each other to pole position, do they? That'll be interesting to see how Ferrari play there, whether they just let their 2 drivers go head-to-head, or whether they just make them do one run, because surely they should be comfortably on the front row of the grid. Alonso with a 22.6 for a first sector time, and not particularly quick, but clearly beginning to get on with it now. Nick Heidfeld is now with Louise Goodman.
What happened there, Nick? Looked like it just died on you.
Yeah, exactly. Don't know what happened. Engine switched off. Then I tried to change something on the settings. It came back for a second, then off again, on, and then it just stalled completely.
Very annoying. You were running very well this weekend so far.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we looked nearly as strong as last week in Canada, with the difference that we could carry it over into qualifying, at least so far. I think I was P5 or around P5 in Q1 and Q2, so it could have been good, but things like that happen.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, we've had 4 different pole sitters in the last 4 years here in Indianapolis, as Alonso goes through on a 1:12.4, and we know Ferrari can go considerably faster than that. Trulli last year, Rubens Barrichello in 2004, Kimi Räikkönen on pole in 2003, and Michael Schumacher, last time he was on pole was in 2002. So if that sequence is to continue with a different pole sitter every year, we're going to need Massa to step up to the plate, but more than likely it's going to be Michael Schumacher. Meanwhile, Alonso, highest he's ever qualified here is 6th place, and the way he's going at the moment, he's going to struggle to match that.
Well, once again, he's slower than Fisichella. Fisichella did a 1:12.1 with his fresh tyres and race fuel, and what's left of it anyway. Alonso 1:12.4, so Renault's still under pressure. Villeneuve's done a Button's done a 12.5 now for P3, and Villeneuve a 13.0. Barrichello only a 13.0 on his first attempt.
But Michael Schumacher is the fastest man in Sector 1. He's the fastest man in Sector 2. Is this going to be pole position for Michael Schumacher with just under 3.5 minutes left? A 1:10.833 is pretty fast around Indianapolis for Michael Schumacher, and he says, come out and try and beat me if you can.
Well, surely he won't bother having another go. Massa's come in with a 1:11.4 as they get ready to send the McLaren of Kimi Räikkönen. Montoya didn't make it through to this shootout, so that's the front row then locked up. I'm sure Ferrari won't bother to go and race themselves on that one. Fisichella's currently got 3rd, and if Alonso can end up 4th, he will be ecstatic, I would imagine, but he's going out for another attempt, of course. Button currently 5th then.
Yeah, Button is just over 1/10 of a second slower than Fernando Alonso, so he is probably Alonso's greatest threat. Jacques Villeneuve is a further half a second behind, as is Rubens Barrichello, and then Ralf Schumacher in the Toyota and Kimi Räikkönen at the moment just do not seem to have the pace to get themselves into the 1:13s. So let's see what Räikkönen can do here. We're riding on board with him. This Mercedes engine reputed to be revving almost to 20,000 at peak revs. You won't find that there, but we'll certainly hear it when he gets onto the straight.
No, that's not underneath him at all. He had to lift off really early for 4. He's waiting for the front to calm down. For 22.9, he must be surely running a heavy fuel load. That's a slow first sector, and that car not at all underneath Räikkönen. He's having to be so patient through the middle of the corner. Into the switchback now of 9 and 10, sweeping through 11, and then all he's got to do is flick it up the gears. Oh, look at the amount of understeer, can barely keep it in on the way through the final corner, and now he's just absolutely full throttle climbing that 9-degree banking and waiting for what will be a relatively disappointing lap time to come up on his dashboard, but surely they've decided to fuel him longer. P8 at the moment on a 13.1.
He goes through, puts Ralf Schumacher and of course Nick Heidfeld, who we saw stopping out on track in the BMW Sauber earlier in the session, down behind him. Ted Kravitz has more.
All these 9 drivers, all of the top 10 except for Nick Heidfeld, are out on new tyres now for one last try, James. And Renault aren't giving up on this one. They've said to Alonso, just try, you're just missing a little bit in the middle sector. Try and nail that one, and you might well have him.
Well, Ferrari have decided to go out and race each other. They're both out on the racetrack, both using up engine mileage and another set of tyres. I'm astonished by that.
Certainly not the Ferrari of old, is it? Where team orders were absolutely everything and the number 2 knew exactly where he stood. Massa's done a lot of donkey work for Michael Schumacher throughout the season. He's certainly played a number 2 subservient role in that sense so far. But when it comes to sporting competition, for pole for the win, clearly he's free to have a go if he wants to. Certainly for the pole position anyway. He's out there having a crack at Michael Schumacher. Giancarlo Fisichella is 3rd at the moment. Alonso 4th. Which is a bit of a save, really, considering where he was earlier on. Fisichella's going a bit faster there, Martin.
Yeah, Fisichella on a lap that I think is going to cement 3rd place, but Alonso's going to be under pressure from Villeneuve, Button and Barrichello, it seems. Ralph Schumacher's out there too in the Toyota. Haven't seen much of him in this session, but Alonso's 1:12.4, I think, will be under pressure very shortly. Fizzy did in a 1:11.9 and is in a solid 3rd place at the moment.
Well, the good news for Alonso is he did just make it through before the checkered flag, so this lap will count for Fernando Alonso, as it will for Raikkonen, Villeneuve and Fisichella, who also just squeaked through before the checkered flag came out. And in this session, you're allowed to complete the lap, unlike the 2 knockout sessions where 0 on the clock means end of session.
Michael lost 3/10 to his best in the middle. He had a good first sector and a steady middle one, so will he improve on his 1:10.8? The red lights are on, but you can complete the lap. He does an identical 1:10.8. Rather confirms what I thought. There was no point whatsoever in doing that. And Barrichello has put Alonso back. Massa doesn't improve either. So 2 wasted runs by the Ferrari. But Alonso has been pipped by the flying Brazilian Rubens Barrichello. Alonso down into 5th then, the World Championship leader. Villeneuve 6th. Button 7th, Ralph Schumacher 8th, Raikkonen down in 9th, and surely fueled differently to the others.
Well, that is a bit of a dream result for Ferrari. They've got an all-Ferrari lockout the front row of the grid. They've got Fisichella in the Renault threatening them in 3rd place, but the World Championship leader, the man they really need to take some points off here tomorrow afternoon, Fernando Alonso, is down in 5th place, and he's got a Honda in front of him on the grid. Jacques Villeneuve does a terrific job for BMW Sauber again and gets himself into 6th place. Jenson Button 7th, again out-qualified by his teammate Rubens Barrichello then. Ralph Schumacher 8th, Raikkonen 9th, and Nick Heidfeld 10th.
I think Alonso will probably be ahead of Barrichello by the time he gets down to turn 1 anyway, with the enormous start that they have on that Renault. So it looks very much like it's Ferrari and Michael Schumacher just coasting then into the Parc Ferme area.
67th career pole for Michael Schumacher, his first since the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola earlier this year, but 4 times a winner here in Montreal, in Indianapolis, and he goes for number 5 tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, it's a Ferrari 1-2 on the grid tomorrow, and Alonso back on the 3rd row. Jubilation there for Michael. Reaction is next.
Жака Вильнёва. Вильнёв смог квалифицироваться на 6-й позиции. Следом за ним 2-я Honda Дженсона Баттона и Toyota Ральфа Шумахера. Ну и, наконец, на последнем, вот в этом сегменте, естественно, последнем 5-м ряду стартового поля, Кими Райконен и Ник Хайтфельд. Соответственно, Физиков 3-й раз в сезоне всего смог опередить Фернандо Алонсо в квалификации. 7-3 у них становится счет. Что касается Рубенса Баррикелло, то он сравнивает в своем сражении с Баттоном. 5-5 у них. Жак Вильнёв выходит вперед 6-4 теперь у него относительно Ника Хайтфельда, но там была механическая проблема у немца. И, наконец, Михаэль Шумахер, как и Такума Сато, соответственно, 2 команды, только Феррари и Супер Агури, лидеры неприкасаемые. 10-0 относительно Филиппе Массы. Масса, который уступил, мы видим, 0,6 секунды, а все, начиная с Физика, более секунды. Очень и очень серьезный прорыв, конечно, Феррари. Бриджстоун в полном составе на 1-м ряду стартового поля, лишь следом за ним Renault, Honda и BMW. Вот эти три команды, естественно, попробуют бросить вызов Скудерии Феррари в завтрашней гонке. Ну, плюс, может быть, что-нибудь получится, конечно, у Монтои с 11 места и у Райконена с 9, если у них будет намного больше топлива. Плюс к этому приятный сюрприз, еще раз повторимся, это, конечно, Мидленд, Альберс и Монтейро 14 и 15. Очень неплохое сегодня выступление Такумы Сато на 18 позиции. Ну и относительный провал для Трулли и Росберга, лишь 19 и 20. Это если вкратце о итогах сегодняшней квалификации. Естественно, что подробнее о ней вы узнаете в завтрашней программе на РЕН-ТВ «Обратный отсчет». Программе, которая начнется в 8 вечера по московскому времени. Ну и затем в 8:45, естественно, мы вернемся непосредственно в прямой эфир с трассы в Индианаполисе, где в 21:00 стартует 10-й этап чемпионата мира Формулы-1 2006 года Гран-при США. Для вас работал Алексей Попов. До встречи завтра на РЕН-ТВ в прямом эфире во время гонки Формулы-1.
Welcome back to Indianapolis, where for the first time since the opening race of the season at Bahrain, it is a Ferrari 1-2 after qualifying. Then comes Fisichella and Barrichello, and pushing Alonso down into 5th place, struggling a little in the Renault. Then Villeneuve, Jenson Button, Ralf Schumacher, Kimi Räikkönen, and then Nick Heidfeld. Moving on, it's Juan Pablo Montoya, who's just squeezed out of the top 10. Mark Webber, Scott Speed, Albers, Montero, and Christian Klein. And finally, the final 6. David Coulthard, who was knocked out in the first qualifying round. Sato, Nicky Rosberg, Jarno Trulli, Lutzi, and Montagny. And whatever form of transport they take, they seem to get there quicker than anybody else. That is Felipe Massa and Michael Schumacher after qualifying 1 and 2 on the grid for tomorrow's US Grand Prix here in Indianapolis. We said they were getting quicker, and they are.
They're definitely quicker. I mean, the advantage is clear to see. The straight line speed is far superior to anybody else, and that's kind of what we pointed at before the show started here with the qualifying, and it's now shown for Ferrari. 1 and 2 on the grid. The only thing that we've got to think about is the fast start in Renault's. Fisichella's up there, Alonso's a little bit back there in 5th place, which he's not used to seeing so much of, although at the beginning of the season that was quite normal for him. But I think Ferrari are going to be good here. They've got the Bridgestone tyre working and the chassis dialed in superbly.
Talking about that start going into turn 1, that is a place where overtaking will take place this weekend.
Definitely so, but you know, the Ferraris are so strong in terms of straight line speed, I don't think you're going to see anybody go by one of them.
Well, Jensen has qualified in 7th place. He's now with Luis.
Yeah. Well, what's your verdict on that one?
I'm pretty happy, actually. It wasn't too bad a lap. I mean, it's really tough out there because the circuit temperature is very high. There's a lot of wind, but yeah, I got pretty much everything I could out of it, so I'm reasonably happy with 7th.
Well placed for the race, do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
What's going to be the biggest challenge tomorrow?
Getting past Jacques, I think, at the start. You know, I don't know what the race pace is going to be like, but yeah, he's going to be a tough cookie, I think, and hopefully he won't get in the way because our pace is good. You know, our pace is very good race pace. So I'm happy with my position, and I think that I can do something good from there.
Well done.
Thanks.
You get the feeling he is quite satisfied.
I think he's satisfied, but he will be slightly frustrated at Rubens Barrichello's qualifying in front of him for yet another race. But you kind of also feel that Honda just picked up the game. You know, Willis has departed from the design area and there's just been a refocus, and all of a sudden there's some results there which are starting to feed through. Whether we can get that in the race is another thing, and that's where Honda have been a little bit on the weak side.
OK, let's get some more reaction now. And Ted is with Ron Dennis.
Yes, Angus, down at McLaren. Ron, 9th place for Kimi.
9th and 11th, actually.
And 11th, yeah. That has to be fuel-related, really, is it?
Well, I think that you know, any Michelin runner accepts that, you know, things are going to flow backwards and forwards, where Bridgestone has come with a very strong tyre, and we have to adopt a race strategy that gives us the best chance of a good result. And it's clearly a strategy which means we have to go long, and so it's a question of how long. But we'll see how it unfolds for the race.
A lot of people sitting at home will remember what happened with Michelin here last year. Have come back. They haven't had any problems with the tyres. Are these two related, the fact that Bridgestone seem to have the edge here?
Well, one would assume that Michelin's come with a degree of caution, but I don't think that's really the case. It is inevitable that tyre companies are going to jockey for position, and it's clearly a race that Bridgestone's going to be very strong at. But that's not a criticism of Michelin. It's just that is the nature of a tyre war, and so far this season we've pretty much enjoyed a tyre superiority, at every race. This is the real first one that Bridgestone's dominated, and we'll take the pain and get on with doing the best we can.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Ron.
Ron taking the pain. He obviously feels he's not got the best equipment to take him around this circuit. It is so specific here.
Yeah, I think Ron's sort of, acknowledging the fact that maybe they got a bit too much fuel on board, and that's going to put them back on the grid there. And the fact that what he said is quite correct. Bridgestone had come here with a very strong tyre. Ferrari are the top team, and that combination at this point is, as strong as you're going to get, and that's showing in the grid positions. What he needs to do now is adopt a race strategy. He's got something with a flexible situation he can run with Montoya because he's outside the top 10, and Kimi will be strong as he ever is in the race.
Okay, let's hear from Jensen's teammate Rubens Barrichello. He's with Louise.
Nice one, Rubens.
Yeah, nice one. I like this place, and as much as I like Canada, but Canada we were not that competitive. Today we are, and it looks from other times as well. I mean, this morning and yesterday we are a little bit more competitive. Now it's up to us to keep up the good job, because I'm sure people will come massively on the back of us. We need to do better.
We've seen you look strong in qualifying earlier in the season and then just fade away in the race. How do you think you're going to fare in the race here?
I don't think we have a stronger car than the Renault, but we did a good job to make the best out of ours, and I think that's good enough. Let's look for a strong top 5 tomorrow with everyone on the track. If not everyone is there, hopefully something better.
Rubens and Jensen both qualifying pretty well, but how good can that Honda be?
Well, I think Honda are making progress, but it's been a weakness of them for race pace. They really haven't been that strong. We've seen strong qualifying performances this season so far, and they haven't got the result there to finish for the race, and that's the main aim. They're now got to try and get to the podium.
I wonder how happy Ross Brawn is. He's now with Ted.
That's the result they were looking for, and you presumably too.
Yes, I mean, I really felt we'd be strong at these two races because of the nature of the car, and disappointing in Montreal not to be more competitive, but really we had a tyre problem there. And I think what we're seeing here is a situation where the tyres are working well and the true performance of the car.
So you don't think you're looking at an opposition knowing that you were strong on the tyre and fueling accordingly for that?
Well, we'll find out tomorrow. I don't think so, but we'll find out. I mean, the fastest race strategy is what we have, so unless something goes wrong at the start, we'll be trying to run the fastest race.
Is this in any way connected with what the problems Michelin had last year, and have they had to be extra conservative here, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that's something you'll have to ask them. I mean, we've obviously chosen tyres carefully, but I don't know what Michelin are doing.
And your thoughts for the race tomorrow?
Well, you're never completely sure, but obviously we've got a very good performance from the car, so we'll be strong tomorrow. Got to hope we get a good start, and then we can run the race we want. Thanks.
Thank you. Well done.
The start being important, but quietly confident there, Ross Brawn.
I think he's already got the race planned out, and the strategy's there for Ferrari. They know what they've got underneath, and they've got an extremely strong package for this weekend. Straight line speeds there, they've got the advantage over everybody. All they need to do is get into turn 1 before anybody else, and the only hiccup could be with the fast Titan Renault Fisichella behind him. He may just tuck down there. There's plenty of room into turn 1 and enough speed to get up. He might just make the move.
Okay, let's find out what the Ferrari drivers, Michael Schumacher and Felipe Massa and everyone else think. They're in the press conference now.
Michael, so near yet so far in recent races, but here it appears, touch wood, as if everything's heading in the right direction for you.
Yeah, we are very strong all weekend long, very consistent, have a good pace in general. Very surprised about the amount. I'd rather give up something and use it for other periods, because to be almost a second or something like that ahead to the rest is a lot. But it shows that when the package works, we can be extremely strong. We have been suffering a little bit in the last races where things didn't work out so well, but here on this circuit everything just matches perfectly.
Well, Ferrari obviously doing their homework in terms of the race, but as you say, very quick on light fuel and quick in race setup here.
Yeah, in all means we are quick, and so it wouldn't be a surprise if we have a good chance to win tomorrow.
How was the qualifying lap from your point of view? Perfect lap?
The first one was very good. The second one, obviously, I had nothing to lose, so I just pushed a little bit harder, and that didn't work out exactly. I did exactly the same lap time again. Lost a 10th out because the fuel effect is about roughly that, somewhere on the track, but by the look of it, still was enough.
Congratulations to you. And Felipe, congratulations to you. Front row of the grid for Ferrari, as in Bahrain. Slight outbraking manoeuvre going on with Fernando Alonso in that last session there?
I mean, we do everything in the qualifying to avoid the traffic. I mean, I had a good speed in the straight. I took his toe, and then I had the opportunity. I passed him, and then I was a little bit more free for my lap on new tires. So we saw that straight away when the green light was on, it was like a little bit of a normal race start. So anyway, I couldn't do my lap. We are in the front row, and that's the most important thing.
Very, very quick this morning as well, like Michael. Not quite as quick in this qualifying session. Was that the traffic situation?
No, not really the traffic. My car, honestly, in the qualifying was a little bit more oversteer. And in the first qualifying, in the first try, I had a little bit of oversteer. In the second one, I had even more. So I didn't want to push really even more to make a mistake. So in the end, it's okay.
Very well done to you. And Giancarlo, congratulations to you. Fastest Michelin runner and quicker than obviously your teammate Fernando. What does it look like from your point of view in terms of your race strategy tomorrow?
Well, we are really surprised about the pace, Ferrari's pace, which is almost a second here. Already this morning we were very surprised about that when they run with the scrap tires, and they been able to be really quick, really competitive. So I think there are no question. They are quicker than us here in USA, but we have a long race to do tomorrow. It's going to be a tough race for the tires, for the physically, mentally. So we got some chance to do well, and I hope to score a lot of points to get on the podium.
Can you be specific about where you think the Ferrari is quicker here than the Renault?
Well, we don't know why, because I think they have the same package as last race was, and we have the same. So maybe it's the characteristic of the circuit, or maybe, I don't know, Bridgestone tires are working better than our Michelin tires. I don't know. I have no idea.
How significant do you think it is that Fizzy's actually ahead of Fernando in qualifying?
I think it's interesting to see that. I think Fisichella's obviously come now off the back of being re-signed for another year, and his confidence level is high.
Boosts your confidence, doesn't it?
But we'll have to see. Alonso, don't count the guy out, never.
Okay, we look forward to it. We're going to take a short break, but coming up, we'll have our competition for you. A great prize there, and, well, it's a bit of a time to relax. Juan Pablo Montoya with Sebastian, taking a stroll in the sunshine, but not much of a smile. He finished 11th. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Indianapolis, where tomorrow we will have a 1-2 Ferrari on the grid. It's been the worst qualifying since San Marino for Renault, qualifying 3rd and 5th. I wonder why that might be. Let's find out from Pat Simmons.
Well, Pat, you knew Bridgestone was strong here. Have you fueled your cars accordingly?
We made a decision this morning that we weren't going to be compromised by Ferrari's performance. We could see it was superior to ours. I don't like to say we gave up, we never give up, but we didn't compromise what we're doing to try and race Ferrari for pole, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Fernando spoke about it on Thursday when he said, you know, I hope to have a good result here, finish in the points, and he said a podium would be a bonus.
Well, I guess that is really what we're racing for. I never like to admit it, but, you know, we've had a fantastic run. You can't win every race. And Ferrari got the legs on us this weekend, so, yeah, a podium will be good.
And is it just Ferrari and the Bridgestone, or is this Michelin having to be conservative after the problems they had here last year?
Well, for sure we have been. I don't know whether conservative is the right word. I think we had to have integrity in how we approached the tyres here. We couldn't afford even a hint of anything happening again. Yes, it's cost us some performance, there's no doubt, but our test didn't indicate it gave us this sort of loss of performance. So I think, you know, as I've said before, in a tyre war, you can get these big ups and downs when someone gets it right, someone gets it wrong. So it's a blip on the curve.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
Do you think it is just a blip? This is nothing too serious to worry about?
I think there's a little blip in terms of what's gone on with the tyres. Certainly Bridgestone had turned up with the correct tyre and Michelin looked like they're on the back foot slightly, but let's take on board, Ferrari have been catching up to the point of now being over nearly a second ahead, and that's, you know, it's a big difference.
Yeah. Gilles de Ferran, welcome.
Thank you.
You're pleased with that qualifying? You must be.
Yeah, I think we're very pleased, you know, especially if you take into account the weekend we had in Canada. I mean, it's certainly fantastic having Rubens 4th and Jensen 7th. I think it's very good, just what we wanted.
Rubens does like it here. He seems very at home here. So perhaps he was looking for that sort of qualifying.
Well, I think both guys did a great job, to be honest. I mean, and they achieved exactly what we expected out of both of them. Now we have to have a good start tomorrow and a good first lap to make sure that our strategy works.
And we've just been listening to Pat Simmons from Renault, and it seems like from him that the tyre is a little bit on the weaker side for them, what Michelin have brought here in terms of performance. Is that the same for you guys with a Honda chassis?
No, for us, we're pretty happy with the Michelin tyres. I think our engineers revised the setup from Canada to here, hence the reason that the car is performing quite a bit better than it was last weekend. And we've been pretty happy with the tyres.
It's sustaining it, isn't it, around a difficult circuit like this?
Well, certainly, you know, this circuit is difficult. The temperatures are hot, but you know, we don't have too much trouble in the longer runs.
So Brazil or France?
Brazil, of course.
Which do they find it more difficult here for the setup for the Honda? You're looking for the speed down the back straight.
Well, I think the speed on the straight is important because it allows you to overtake your competitors, but it's certainly not everything. I mean, there's a very tight infield section there, and if you run too little wing, not only are you going to be slow around the back, but you may experience quite a bit of degradation on the tires. So it's very much a compromise for the race. It's not all about the straight line speed.
Is this a very unusual circuit? You find it sort of unique in the calendar?
Yeah, very unique. I mean, not only the layout is unique, but you are at Indianapolis, the church of racing here in the United States.
All right, many thanks indeed. Well, of course, if there's anything you've missed, anything more you need to know, you know where to look. The website is the place to go to find all the latest news and features from the Formula One world. That's at itv-f1.com. And it's also where you can email Mark Blundell with all your Formula One related questions. Paddock at itv-f1.com is the address you need to know. On the website, you'll also find details of our competitions, and congratulations to William Hoth of Buckinghamshire, who correctly said Lord March is the owner of Goodwood House. And William will be off to Goodwood next weekend to enjoy the Festival of Speed. Now for this week's competition, here's Louise.
Autoglym Premium Car Care is offering one lucky person the opportunity of a lifetime to experience the thrill of Formula One for themselves. You'll get 3 laps around Silverstone in the specially designed Minardi 2-seater F1 car on Thursday the 30th of July. You'll be driven by a former F1 driver, either Zolf Baumgartner or Baz Linders. It's almost like driving a Formula One car yourself. You can bring a guest to take the photos, and you'll both get lunch and refreshments throughout the day. Plus, you'll receive a valet pack from Autoglym, so your own car always looks in top condition. To be in with a chance of winning this amazing prize, just answer the following question. Who was the boss of the Minardi F1 team? Was it A, Eddie Jordan, B, Paul Stoddart, or C, Flavio Briatore? The number to call is 0901 293 2020, or you can text F1 plus your answer, A, B or C, to 63337. Calls and texts cost £1 plus the standard network rate, and lines close at midnight on Thursday the 6th of July.
Yes, and good luck with that. Well, our coverage starts tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock on ITV1, live from Indianapolis. And if you were to miss any of it, then there are highlights at 11:35 later in the evening, also on ITV1. Mark, everybody chasing the Ferraris.
Everyone will be chasing the Ferraris, but let's just wait and see after start. Fisichella in the Renault, fast started as always, long run into turn 1. But the other problem we've got is the weather. The forecast says that there could be rain here on the race day, and that could bring a big mix into the equation.
Could make it pretty interesting. Okay, join us tomorrow to see if Schumacher can make it 4 in a row here in the United States.